At 6 a.m., the thermometer showed 45 degrees Fahrenheit. We waited 2 hours till the world had time to warm. After 6 miles, we reached Mountain Springs, Willow Creek Station. The 1875 cadastral survey plat locates a cabin, springs, and connecting roads at a location along 6 Mile Creek. This, coupled with historic written accounts and knowledge that Pete Joyce built and occupied a log cabin at this location, suggests its use as a station house. Water sink below the benchland, tufted round with cottonwood, willow, rose, cane, and grass. On our right or eastward lay Granite Rock, which we had well nigh rounded, and through a gap we saw Lost Spring Station, distant apparently but a few hours' canter. This station has had 2 names, 2 attempts at a pony express station in Overland Canyon, both destroyed by fire. The first built in the mouth of Blood Canyon, near available water. The second, probably built by Howard Egan, located up Overland Canyon about 2-3 miles. Between us, however, lay the horrible Salt Plain, a continuation of the lowlands bounding the western edge of the Great Salt Lake, which the drainage of the hills over which we were traveling inundates till June. After 12 miles over the bench, we passed a dark rock, which protects a water called Redding Springs, and we halted to form up at the mouth of Deep Creek Canyon. This is a dangerous gorge, some 9 miles long, formed by a watercourse, which sheds into the valley of the Great Salt Lake. Here I rode forward with Jim, a young express rider from the last station, who volunteered much information upon the subject of Indians. He carried 2 Colt's revolvers of the dragoon or largest size, considering all others too small. I asked him what he would do if a Gosh Yuta appeared. He replied that if the fellow were civil, he might shake hands with him. If surly, he would shoot him, and at all events, when riding away, that he would keep a stirrup eye upon him, and that he was in the habit of looking round corners to see if anyone was taking aim, in which case he would throw himself from the saddle or rush on so as to spoil the shooting. The Indians, when charged, becoming excited, fire without effect. He mentioned 4 red men who could draw a bead against any white. Usually, however, they take a minute to load, they require a long aim, and they stint their powder. He pointed out a place where Miller, one of the express riders, had lately been badly wounded and lost his horse. Nothing certainly could be better fitted for an ambuscade than this gorge, with its caves and holes and snow cuts, earth drops, and lines of strata like walls of rudely piled stone. In one place we saw the ashes of an Indian encampment, in another a whirlwind curling as smoke would rise from behind a projecting spur, made us advance with the greatest caution. In 1863, 2 years after the Pony Express ended, Indians attacked Canyon Station, killing the residents and burning the buildings. That same year, workers built a round fortress-like structure above the mouth of Overland Canyon to replace the burnt station. Local people distinguished between the 2 stations by referring to the burned station site as burnt or burnout, and the replacement as round station. The station is said to have consisted of a log house with adjoining staple, and a dugout where meals were cooked and served. As we progressed, the valley opened out and became too broad to be dangerous. Near the summit of the pass, the land is well lined with white sage. which may be used as fodder, and a dwarf cedar adorns the hills. The ground gives out a hollow sound, and the existence of a spring in the vicinity is suspected. Descending the western watershed, we sighted, in Deep Creek Valley, St. Mary's County, the first patch of cultivation since leaving Salt Lake City. The Indian name is Ayapa, or clay-colored water. Pity that America and Australia have not always preserved the native local terms. It is bisected by a rivulet in which three streamlets from the southern hills unite. Like these features generally, its course is northward till it sinks. Fields extend about 1 mile from each bank, and the rest of the yellow bottom is a tapestry of wiregrass and wheatgrass. An Indian model farm had been established here. The war, however, prevented cultivation. The savages had burned down the house, and several of them had been killed by the soldiers. On the west of the valley were white rocks of the lime used for mortar. The hills also showed lias and marble-like limestone. The eastern wall was a grim line of jagged peaks, here bare with granite and there black with cedar. They are crossed by a short-cut leading to the last station, which, however, generally proves the longest way. And in a dark ravine, Kennedy pointed out the spot where he had of late nearly left his scalp. Coal is said to be found there in chunks, and gold is supposed to abound. The people, however, believing that the valley cannot yet support extensive immigration, conceal it, probably by counsel. At 4 p.m. we reached the settlement, consisting of 2 huts and a station house, a large and respectable-looking building of unburnt brick, surrounded by fenced fields, watercourses, and stacks of good adobe. Deep Creek was the home of Howard Egan, the division superintendent for service between Salt Lake City, Utah, and Roberts Creek, near Eureka, Nevada. This well-equipped and service-functioning facility was the most westerly station located within the present boundaries of Utah. The western boundary of the Utah Territory at this time was the California state line in Genoa, the most westerly Utah Territory station. Harrison Seaver was the station master. Buildings included an adobe station, house, and barn. The telegraph established a repeater station at this location in 1861, with George Ferguson being the telegrapher. We were introduced to the Mormon station master, Mr. Sevier, and others. They are mostly farm laborers who spend the summer here and supply the road with provisions. In the winter, they return to Grantsville, where their families are settled. Among them was Mr. Waddington, an old Pennsylvanian and a bigoted Mormon. It is related of him that he had treasonably saved 300 Indians by warning them of an intended attack by the federal troops. He spoke strongly in favor of the despised Utahs, declaring that they were ready to work and can be led to anything by civility. The anti-Mormons declared that his praise was for interested motives, wishing the savages to labor for him gratis. And I observed that when Mr. Waddington started to cut wood in the canyon, he set out at night, lest his dust should be seen by his red friends. The Mormons were not wanting in kindness. They supplied us with excellent potatoes and told us to make their house our home. We preferred, however, living and cooking afield. The station was dirty to the last degree. The flies suggested the Egyptian plague. They could be brushed from the walls in thousands. But though sage makes good brooms, no one cares to sweep clean. This, I repeat, is not Mormon, but Western. The people, like the Spaniards, apparently disdain any occupation save that of herding cattle, and will do so till the land is settled. We were glad to receive permission to sleep upon the loose wheat in an inner room. At 8 a.m. the thermometer had shown 59 degrees Fahrenheit, but on this night ice appeared in the pails. The next day was a halt. The stock wanted rest and the men provisions. En route again, 3rd October. The severity of the last night made us active. The appearance of deep snow upon the mountains and of ice in the valley was an intelligible hint that the Sierra Nevada, which lay before us, would be by no means an easy task. Despite, therefore, the idleness always engendered by a halt, and the frigid blasts which poured down from the eastern hills, where rain was falling in torrents, we hitched up, bade adieu to our Mormon host, and set out at 4 p.m. Antelope Springs, the next station, was 30 miles distant. We resolved, therefore, to divide it, after the fashion of Asia and Africa, by a short forenoon march.